ice cream truck actually going to go by before we start recording for once. That would be nice.
Oh shit, I hear it.
Hell yeah, Ice Cream Man. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week are Kestrel.
Hi.
And Kane.
Hello, hello.
And it's just the three of us. And we are here to talk about the spring 2024 season of anime, which is coming to a close as of this week, next week, maybe not, maybe so. Everything's kind of messed up now for schedules for when shows run, but you know, we do what we can, so. And it's been a minute since we recorded, and I don't know if Kestrel wrote down any news or if any news has been happening.
I do have a few pieces of news from ranging from a month ago to a week ago, so we can
nice. Okay.
Go over those. So first, an upcoming programming block that started 2 weeks ago. Does anyone still watch TV? Like anyone in the world?
Oh, are you going to talk about like Toonami?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if anyone watches
weird.
TV anymore.
You know, it's weird. Does anybody have cable television anymore is the real question.
Right, that's the question. Yeah. Well, if you're...
I kind of do because I have YouTube TV, so I guess that would count.
Yeah. If you got your YouTube TV or your internet plan came with cable TV or something... remember Toonami back in the day? Yeah, that was a thing we talked about from the 90s. That was fun when TV was a thing. Anyway, they've been running with this new Adult Swim block for actually, it turns out, longer than the original Toonami ever ran, which is bizarre to think about.
Yeah, that's funny at this point.
Yeah. So, anyway, this new one has just been, the normal Adult Swim anime block on Saturday nights. And they just announced that they're going to add a Toonami block to Friday nights, and it's going to be Toonami Rewind. It's going to be all the shit that we grew up with and we're all nostalgic for from the mostly the 90s and 2000s. They got Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, etc. So,
Muyo?
Apparently. Yeah, probably. I don't know. That was how it started, right? The new Adult Swim Toonami was one of Adult Swim's April Fool's jokes, was they just... had a Toonami block, and they played all the old shit, except uncensored. And now it's like their actual block.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably because millennials like us tuned in at least once or twice for that nostalgia kick. I don't know how well that would work in a long-term business plan, but they gotta get someone turning on their fucking channel.
Again, it's hard for me to believe that linear TV works for a long-term business plan at all these days, but it still exists somehow, so I guess someone must be watching it. People who have nothing to do at night in a hotel room.
I mean, that's true. I've been there, so if I saw Toonami on, depending on what was on, I cannot say that my, channel wouldn't be set to that, so they win there? But yeah, I don't know. Sure. And did they still bring like Steve Bloom back to be Tom or whatever the thing's name was? So
he's still been doing it.
Oh yeah,
I think
still
it's like
cashing them checks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. Anyway. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's neat, but it's hard in how today's media economy relies so heavily sometimes on nostalgia bait that it just seems, I don't know, maybe I'm just being cynical about it, but it's like I guess they ran out of ideas, so now they're just going to mine this until they can't, and then
I have to imagine that it's actually, for some of these shows that are much, much older, it's probably like, it's not like the olden days where the the licensing fees for some of this stuff were like through the roof. It's probably way cheaper, and they probably, it probably doesn't cost them very much to license out and play these things. It's the same reason why you can have like all the like auxiliary channels on broadcast TV that are just classic like shows. So you could flip them on and it'll be like a bunch of random shit from the 80s because why not? We have all these extra carrier channels. We might as well just shove this stuff on here. We have the licenses for it and this shit costs us pennies to air.
Yeah, it's like Pluto TV having a dedicated Forensic Files channel.
It's like, well, addendum to like, cartoons on TV on TV. I think it's MeTV just put out their. I think it's up and if it's not up and running yet, it's up and running very soon. Is just their MeTV channel that is all cartoons, and they have some classic anime in there. See what they have in there. They did have something. I think they had Speed Racer and.
Is the rest of the shit like Hanna-Barbera and stuff?
There's a lot of Hanna-Barbera, but there's also like random like stuff that you wouldn't expect. They have some like they're playing Freakazoid.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. That I can't even imagine like some like teenager accidentally stumbling upon that. I don't know why they'd be on TV, watching TV again once again, but
Alone in a hotel room.
Yeah, alone in a hotel room, you're channel surfing, and you come across fucking Freakazoid in the year of our Lord 2024. It's like, wow. But they have everything from like Betty Boop up to like 90s stuff, and then some early 2000s stuff.
Yeah, that definitely feels like just whatever was in the Walmart $5 DVD bin.
Well, it's really funny because I think like I wasn't too impressed with a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of like reruns. They're playing a lot of classic Looney Tunes, stuff like that. They're like blocks of shit that nobody actually wants to watch. Not the Looney Tunes stuff, but like nobody fucking wants to watch the Smurfs. But the one of their blocks was like Beetlejuice back to back with like the real Ghostbusters. I was like, that's solid. Those were two solid shows. I'm like, but yeah, I think they had. I find the what's in this picture here. There's a list somewhere, but I can't find the list. Doesn't help.
But yeah, I mean, I guess in general, if it gets new people to watch anime, I really don't mind how you get it. It's just sometimes it feels forced. In particular does, but that's just me.
I feel like this is specifically catering to our generation. Which I don't know, maybe misguided because I don't know how many of us are really watching linear cable at this point. But like, new fans are all getting into it via streaming and have been for years. So
right.
I think, watching some 80s or 90s show on linear broadcast on a Friday night is gonna get the new kids into anime.
It's really not gonna hit the same.
What it's gonna hit is it's gonna hit some fucking stoners in college who are channel surfing at school, and they're gonna stumble upon it and be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, I just feel like everyone knows anime at this point. Like, I feel like it's not breaking any new ground. If you had any interest in anime, you'd be into it already. It's mainstream enough.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's just going to introduce people to like older anime.
Yeah.
Considering that art style is so different and everything that, people may not have gone out of their way to watch it before because of its age and the difference in how it looks. But even that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Jason. I'm sure you know what you're doing. Okay, next piece of news. Next? Yeah, we got a couple of news stories specifically about the anime studio Science Saru. The first of them is that they have been acquired, as all companies do. They've been acquired by Toho, who's been really beefing up their anime offerings in the past few years. So yeah, that's the first piece of news there.
What does that mean for them? Them being Science Saru, they're just being acquired, or is this one of those like, and now we're going to fold you into this?
No, I mean, presumably the studio will continue to function more or less as it has been. They haven't really gone into any specifics about what might change. It's just, yeah, it used to be an independent company, and it's changed a little bit over the years anyway, because like it was established by Masaki Yuasa and basically existed to
Hmm.
make his stuff for a while, and then he left the company and kind of stopped being so active with creating tons of new stuff all the time like he was for a few years. So now other creators have been working on stuff there, and his co-founder, Eun Choi, has been running the show. Um, so, yeah, the only thing they say is, with the acquisition, Toho aims to strengthen its capacity for high-quality anime production and accelerate the growth of its anime business, blah, 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 PR bullshit. So nothing really new.
Nothing substantial listed in there. No
Yeah,
real plans.
yeah. But I guess more money, less independence, however you feel about that.
Yeah, I was just looking through Yuasa's stuff because I have that disc set from him.
Mhm.
I just couldn't remember the pace at which he was releasing, and yeah, early on, he was releasing movies or something like once a year almost, maybe a year and a
Yeah.
half. So he was really
Look,
on a fucking tear there for a little bit.
look at this. Okay, 2017 released 2 feature films.
Yup.
2018 released a full TV series.
Yup.
2019 released a feature film and a TV series. 2020
Jesus.
released 2 TV series and a film. 2021 released a film.
Good lord.
Man has a
Yeah,
lot of ideas.
I guess so. And somehow the time to make all that. Yeah. So he has not done anything since 2021, which is probably good. He probably needs the rest.
Yeah, I think maybe just some time to decompress, collect some more inspiration for his crazy, weird art style and themes and everything. So,
Yeah.
You said you had another piece? Is it
Yeah.
about
So
Saru as well?
yeah. So also, it was announced that we are getting a new Ghost in the Shell TV anime series in 2026. And previously, Ghost in the Shell anime has kind of been like the Lupin of its time, where, every few years there will be a new reboot, new anime style, new themes to explore by some different creators, but it's generally always been under the same studio, or, that studio co-producing with someone else. And so far they've all been Production IG. This one has been announced to be produced by Science Saru entirely, which is a big change there, and should be a very interesting stylistic match, depending on what creators take it on.
The interesting thing about this is it's supposed to be true to the manga, which is gonna make it look dated as fuck.
True to which version of the manga?
I think the artwork I saw looked like the original
How
in the
much
promo.
explicit pornographic lesbian orgies are we going to expect?
Oh,
That's a
maybe
really good
all of them.
question, actually. I think something that needs to be discussed in depth.
There was
Because that's
definitely,
how Masamune started that series.
yeah. I've got that issues. I mean, I've got that collections from Dark Horse somewhere around here in a box. Yes,
Nice.
there is some hot cyber lesbian orgy happening in that.
I believe you mean to say adult themes.
Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, it's not going to be the standalone complex style of Ghost in the Shell, and I don't know if people are. I don't know how that's going to be received.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got many different iterations of it. Even the standalone complex follow-up wasn't really standalone complex. Um, and, Arise was very different. Obviously, the original was very different. Innocence, which is about to be re-released in theaters,
Yeah, I saw that
is,
it's getting, I think, like a 4K
yeah,
remaster and everything, the full shebang.
yeah. That's also very different from even the original movie, even though it's a sequel. So, like I said, it's kind of like Lupin. We've seen a lot of different interpretations of the characters and the basic story outline. Um, So, this is nothing new, but yeah, it's an interesting fit. I hope it is good because I thought the Standalone Complex new CG series was utter trash, and Arise and its associated movie were barely watchable. So, not super great track record in the past 20 years since Standalone Complex second gig. But yeah, hopefully it'll be interesting and somewhat worthwhile.
That used game shop and everything that I've told you about a few times, Kestrel, is still trying to sell those Arise disc sets.
Oh yeah, the like kind of import ones where they were like 2 50-minute episodes for like $100.
Yeah, they can't get rid of them when they're selling them. I think for like $15.99 a piece.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. They were actual singles, right? They were a single episode per release.
Yeah, they were like those thicker red boxes, and it said like part 1, 2, and part 3, 4, which makes you think there's something more substantial in them. And then you open it up or you take the case out, and it's just like one episode on each disc.
Yeah.
Or something crazy like that. If it was better, I would at least consider buying it when they do their buy one get one free Blu-ray sale. But I've heard nothing but it's just completely mid at best, and I'm just like, I don't want to waste money on this.
Yeah, pretty much. That was one of those series where it's like, new Ghost in the Shell, and it was an OVA, so like it wasn't simulcast. It got a TV version later that got streamed, but I was basically going into it blind because the last thing we got from the franchise was Standalone Complex, which is I think the best Ghost in the Shell has ever been. So I ordered the Blu-rays, those big 2-episode red disc sets, and I was like, oh, not so much. And then I got the movie that followed it up, and I was like, yeah, no. And I eventually gave them away, sold them something. Yeah. So, and then, the SAC 2045 on Netflix was, Netflix, so no real obligation to just start watching. And I think I watched the whole first series, and I definitely did not enjoy myself at all in that experience.
Well, I appreciate your sacrifice.
Yes.
To be the canary in the coal mine for stuff like this, so I know when to not buy the used Blu-rays at my local store.
Yes.
When they pop up. But yeah, I think I agree with you though. Hopefully in your cautious optimism for the new one, at least especially because I like Science Saru in general for what I have seen from them, and maybe they'll do right by the property, but yeah, cautious optimism seems to be the solid play here.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next piece of news. I don't always have manga announcements on here, but Viz announced a shitload of stuff all at once a few weeks ago. So I'll just run through them here because some of them are of interest. Some of them are not, but surely someone is out there pining for Minecraft the manga.
There's been a lot. Them 7Cs and like Yen all announced a ton of stuff recently, and it's just a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Ruri Dragon, which was a Shonen Jump series that was like very sporadic, finally getting a print edition. Kaiju number 8 B-side, little side story manga. The Climber, which I've heard very good things about, so I'm definitely interested to check that one out. We've got Dr. Mashirito's Ultimate Manga Techniques. So, for those who don't know, Mashirito is a character from Dr. Slump who is based on Torishima, which is, just reversed the characters in his name, who was the editor that discovered Toriyama, mentored him, was his editor throughout all of his one-shots, Dr. Slump, and the beginning of Dragon Ball. So it's kind of him talking about how to make manga from the perspective of, like, the editorial side. Then we have Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which I think is just like the Boruto Shippuden or something. I don't know. He looks like an edgy, older Boruto now.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. It's got like a scar or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, so he's been through some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's a time skip. I'm sure there's lots of drama involved. We got Firefly Wedding, which I've never heard of. We have One Piece Heroines, which is one of the One Piece spin-off novels. I think this is short stories dealing with several of the female characters of One Piece.
Oh God.
Then we have some Hunter x Hunter 3-in-1s, some omnibus editions of that manga series. I wish they still did the Viz Big editions because those are actually like nice and high quality and worth getting. The 3-in-1s they've been doing in the current format are like super low quality. So, if you just want to buy a series in a more economic fashion than singles, then it works for that. But yeah, definitely missed the Viz Bigs.
Are those the ones that look like trade paperback novels? And it just says like 15, 16, 17 on the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah. I've seen the Full Metal Alchemist ones of those a lot.
You usually see the One Piece ones kicking around because those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. At least Full Metal Alchemist also got the Full Metal editions, which are the hardcover, like, I don't know, 1.5 volume per volume things, which is kind of weird, but they were just mimicking what Japan did. Those are really nice. But yeah, they generally do the shitty, cheap little 3-in-1s for most of their long-running series as well at this point. We've also got Dogs Red, which is an ice hockey manga from the creator of Golden Kamuy.
Oh yeah, that's on the Shonen
interesting.
app.
Huh?
So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
It's on the Shonen Jump app, so
I should check it out.
Yeah. I did see that at some point. We've got Tokyo Alien Brothers. Also never heard that. We have The Liminal Zone Volume 2 from one Junji Ito. We have a little stand-up epilogue follow-up story to My Love Story. Billed as Volume 14, but I guess it is standalone in itself. We have a manga called Pink Candy Kiss. We have the Spirited Away film comics in all-in-one edition of that. So that's a thing that people used to do, where they'd take all the screenshots from a movie or an anime and make a manga out of it. I remember I had one for Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie back in the early 2000s.
Oh, nice.
Yep. At least Spirited Away is actually good, but why not just watch the movie? And speaking of Ghibli, we have My Neighbor Totoro, the official cookbook, which I have, 5 official franchise-based cookbooks, so I feel like I probably have to get this one eventually. I want just
5 cookbooks from Studio Ghibli stuff?
No.
Or just 5 cookbooks from anime?
Only one is manga or anime adjacent, which is the One Piece one. The other 4 are like normie franchises.
Like, what do you got?
Okay.
Yeah, you can't just say normie
right.
and then expect us to leave it alone.
All right, I have the Avatar: The Last Airbender official cookbook, one of the several Star Wars official cookbooks. I have the Godfather official cookbook.
That's the best one.
I mean, it's just Italian food, so true.
It's just gotta be pasta and shit.
Yeah, basically. We probably use that one the most because it's just good-ass Italian food. It's nothing like weird and gimmicky, really.
Oh my god, I can hear the ice cream man in the background.
Yeah, I thought.
Running around. Jesus Christ, tell him to go home.
I thought he was done for the day, but we got another round of Ice Cream Man. And Friends. Caitlin had to have the Friends cookbook, of course.
That Godfather one is definitely the best one. That's fucking sausage and peppers and shit up in there.
Yeah, for sure. We always have the baked ziti from him. Very good.
What? No fucking ziti.
Yeah, not the Sopranos cookbook.
The Sopranos cookbook is that's what's in there. It's just called No Fucking Ziti.
Yeah, it would definitely be called No Fucking Ziti. Oh man, we should hit up this company who does all these cookbooks with that idea. I think we got a winning idea here.
Sure it doesn't already exist?
I feel like I would have come across it.
Yeah, okay.
As I've mentioned, I have 5 of these cookbooks already. Okay, more manga announcements. We're still going. We've got a new one from Inio Asano, the creator of Goodnight Poon Poon and
Oh, God.
Solanin, and the currently airing anime adaptation of his original manga, Dead Dead Demons Destruction. This one is called Mujina Into the Deep. I'm sure it is very happy and cheery.
Yeah, as is the standard operating procedure.
Yeah, 100%. Got a manga called A Star Brighter Than the Sun. Got a little anthology collection, Four Lives Remain, Tatsuya Endo Before Spy Family. This has been kind of a popular thing to do lately with creators who made it big and, had a bunch of one-shots before they made it big. Just throw all those one-shots or, 2 shots, however many chapters they got through into a collection, because now people will actually buy it because they have name recognition. This is interesting. Beyblade X. It's a Beyblade manga from the author of Kakegurui and the artist of The Promised Neverland.
What? That's
something.
I mean, I would love to watch a Beyblade where they like gamble with their lives and the Beyblades are made with knives.
Yeah, right.
Stick it in there.
The thing I am most excited about, speaking of Viz Big editions, they, I don't know if you can still get them, but you could get the Vagabond manga series in those editions for a long time, and that was the best way you could get it. Those, were released a long time ago, so some of them might be out of print now. They are getting a new definitive edition from Viz. All they say about it so far is 3-in-1s, just like Viz Bigs, large trim editions, gorgeous textured design. This is absolutely one of the best manga series of all time, so highly recommend people check this out.
Completely unfinished.
It is completely unfinished because Inoue does not like to finish his stories. Real is also unfinished. Slam Dunk, he finished that one. His other basketball one, not sure if he ever finished that. But yeah, Vagabond, extremely unfinished. One thing I would really like for them to do as part of this is re-release the art books for Vagabond, because they go for, I don't know, like several dozen thousands of dollars on the secondhand market at this point.
Holy shit.
Jesus.
And it would be nice to be able to purchase those. They look quite nice, and his artwork is quite gorgeous. All right, more prior Viz Digital exclusives. We got Doron, very similar to a lot of other titles. Ichigoki's Under Control. I vaguely remember reading the first 3 chapters of that in the Shonen Jump app when they came out. Also, something I read the first 3 chapters of in Shonen Jump when it came out, Wild Strawberry. I did read the first 3 of Doron too. These are just that memorable, apparently. Do Retry. Pretty sure that's also one of those Shonen Jump ones I read 3 chapters of. That's a boxing manga. Yeah, these are all just Shonen Jump series. Ginka and Gluna. So all of these you could read on Shonen Jump. I think most of them were probably canceled fairly quickly, but I guess they did well enough for Viz to release them physically. Shoujo Null is another one of those. And that is all on the list. That was all one announcement.
Wow.
Book,
yeah.
They're hot right now.
Yeah, it's true.
No, mine's
so yeah,
gangbusters. So I guess throw it all out there. Might as well.
I am. So, does anyone have any thoughts on any of those? Anyone remember the first one that was announced half an hour ago?
Nope. No, I do not.
Well, it was Minecraft the manga, and surely we'll all be purchasing it.
I'm sure. I mean, it'll definitely
get sells fucking gangbusters for them.
Yes.
Oh, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's gonna sell way more than 90% of the other things you mentioned on that list. But
yeah,
I do kind of. I'm gonna have to at least Google to see what the cover and stuff looks like, because I want to know how they manga up a pixelated 3D video game, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
it looks not incredibly inspiring, as you might imagine. And last piece of news from a week ago, pretty significant here. Long time coming. The anime studio Gainax has announced bankruptcy.
Yeah,
No
I
one
remember
who was
seeing
paying
that.
attention.
What was that, Kate?
To the shock of no one who was paying attention.
Yeah, like they've basically been a non-existent for the past decade. They just to give a little background. So, basically 2006, they started to the Gynax that people associate with Gynax started to come apart. When Hideaki Anno, the founding member, left and took a bunch of the main Ava staff to go create new Ava at his new studio, Kara. And then kind of the next generation took over a little bit with Gurren Lagann in 2007. But then that same team would then also leave Gynax in 2011 to go form their own studio called Trigger. And so, all the people behind those two properties were gone. And then after that point, they were putting out very little of note for sure. Just a few little adaptations that people didn't really care about. Their last project really was in 2015, which was a TV series adapted from a web series of short, 5-minute episodes. That ultimately this entire property is just made to advertise the car manufacturer Subaru in the form of Magical Girl anime. So, really, really prestige stuff on the level of Neon Genesis Evangelion and Gurren Lagann. That's what Gainax was kind of up to those days. And then basically the few people who were left also left the studio. They had a spin-off called Fukushima Gainax, which then rebranded to Gaina, which is a studio that still exists. They haven't done a ton of note either, but most of the remaining staff went over there. And in recent years, Kara has, been gradually taking over the Ava property in every way that they can. There are still some unpaid debts. They've sued Gainax. ADV has sued Gainax.
Everybody sued Gainax.
Everyone sued Gainax. Kara, has mostly been in control of Ava, and in the past few years, Trigger got control of the properties that, basically their team did at Gainax, Gurren Lagann, and Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, which is why they're able to create a new Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt anime now. And Fooly Cooly, which was, the other, really notable Gainax property, was originally a co-production with Production IG, and so for subsequent installments of that, Production IG kind of took over, and now they have the full rights to the franchise in general, and so the people who worked on that, yeah, exactly.
We don't. I mean, yeah, but whatever.
But the point being that every notable property that Gainax had worked on had been transferred to some other studio where the people who worked on it were now working anyway. So not only had they not created anything, but they didn't even have control of the properties that people think of when they think of Gainax. And I think at the end they had one official employee. Their headquarters for the past decade or so was just an apartment. Their CEO was arrested for sexual assault on a minor, which is always real great. So yeah, the company has been falling apart in every conceivable way for the past 15 years or so, and they really have not existed for the past decade in any conceivable form. Also, speaking of Gynax, or speaking of Kara, they did put out a statement where they kind of went through all the stuff I just did and threw a lot of shade on Gynax.
Yeah.
They talk about how they are still owed debts, they're still working on that, and they have assumed the Gynax trademark. So, if it ever needs to be used in any form again, Kara is in control of that. So, yeah, an end of an era, technically. It's kind of like when the Funimation.com website and streaming player and app went away a couple months, 2.5 months ago. It's like, yeah, I mean, Funimation hasn't really existed anyway, but now it officially does not, so we can kind of reflect on it. And, the morning that was announced, everyone on the internet was talking about Gynax, so it was good to kind of reflect on their legacy. They were certainly very influential, very important in the industry. The reason that all of these rights transfers were even relevant in the first place, because normally it would, I should preface, like, it's not like Gynax was putting out Gurren Lagann. It was Aniplex who had those, like, distribution rights. The reason these rights were all significant, even though they weren't a producer in that capacity, is because so many of their projects were originals. So they were the original creator, which is a big thing in Japan. The original creator determines all, so they needed to get those properties out of those hands so that the people who actually made it could have control.
At least they can, because, like, in the United States, like, she just fucking disappears.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, corporation dies, good luck finding that shit.
Yeah. Which has happened a lot in Japan, too. Like, a lot of stuff is in licensing hell because the company that had the rights to it just went belly up and no one got them.
We just lost Kestrel.
Oh no!
Mid-sentence, impressive.
Do you think the ice cream man got him?
He might have. Definitely might have. I hope he realizes he's talking into the void on his end and it tries to mitigate.
Well, he went offline, period. We didn't just
I know.
lose him. Yeah, he's gone. Oh, there he is. Hey. We thought the ice cream man got you.
I don't know what happened. Cool. Well, hopefully
keep rolling.
Still have me in this new recording.
Craig just records the channel. I don't think Craig don't stop.
Okay, cool.
Craig is a runaway freight train.
My local didn't stop either. So if need be, I have that. I just don't know why that happened.
Yeah, if you wanted to keep going with what you were finishing up with Gynax stuff.
Where did I cut off?
That's a good question. End of a sentence.
Okay.
Mid-statement, end of a sentence.
I'm sure whatever I was still talking about was not that important, so you can just cut out the stuff that doesn't make sense anymore.
It all makes perfect sense. Yep. So Gynax is no more. The last Gynax menu ratio, etc., etc.
I was honestly surprised. The only thing that did surprise me about it was just the fact that I thought they were gone for a long time already.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't think they were a company at all, especially once Kara took over for the Ava stuff, and then I was like, well, do they have anything that they do anymore? So I just figured they faded into, oblivion, but I guess not up until right now. So it's hard to feel like sad about it either, I guess. Like even someone who likes older anime and things like that, it's just kind of like, yeah, well, them's be the breaks.
Yeah. It would be bad if like those people weren't everywhere else doing a million other things. And
that's a very good point.
So
right. If they literally still had any employees, then it would matter, but it doesn't because they don't.
Yeah, well, onward and upward.
Yep.
Anything else on the list?
Nope, those were the things I had.
Excellent. All right.
Nice. The only one like small piece of news I thought about that I'm excited by, because I know I can bring them up every once in a while when I see them, but that Sakamoto Days is getting an anime, and that's like the one manga that I'm actively keeping up with.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, I finally get to experience what that's like.
Yep.
The wondering how it's gonna hold up to the book and everything, so to speak, which I do have my reservations about, but we will see.
Will definitely be interesting kind of role reversal when that comes
Yeah, I know, right? I can't remember what studio has it. I'll have to double check. It needs to be one that can animate a lot of action, because if people thought like Jujutsu Kaisen is nothing but fights and the characters only exist to string together threadbare plot elements between them, Sakamoto Days is that, like, but all of the time.
Nice.
The action is like wicked crazy in the manga itself. Like, they're doing all sorts of just ridiculous shit, fighting on, through, and around like freight trains as they're going, and people will just act like nothing's happening. It's just fucking ridiculous and berserk. But the show then has to be able to basically animate nonstop fight scenes, because there is almost nothing else.
Nice.
So if they do it right, it'll be a spectacle at the very least. But we'll see. I'm excited at least to experience it from a manga reader first, since that is I don't know if that's actually ever happened to me. Probably not. But maybe at one point, but I can't remember it right now. But cool. Well, then let's jump into the season. I know we have a couple shows that we all share that I'd like to hear some opinions on. So I think, why don't we start out talking a little dungeon meshy? I know, Kestrel, you put it at like I think a B+ on here. So I know you've generally warmed up to it more as the season and episodes have gone on, and I think that might be the case for basically all of us. And if Bran was here, I'm sure that would kind of be a very similar reaction for that. But
and we were basically 100% right from the get-go. But
yeah, I can definitely say that I'm very much so enjoying it at this point. I think it's really starting to hit its stride when it comes to the drama, and blending a little bit of like comedic stuff from Leos, especially when it comes to like his obsession with monsters, but from an eating and then academic standpoint in a weird way. Is it doesn't feel, almost, I guess, as forced, maybe, in a way. Like, it's just everything's blending together really nicely, and I'm very excited to see how we keep going now that we've kind of gotten deeper into the dungeon and all of that. I wanted to talk in particular about the not consequences, not the right word, but the implications of, I think, the episode before last, of the people who are trapped living for all eternity in that village.
The Golden Country people stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones who are just like, we farm, but we don't really know why anymore. We only do this so we don't lose our fucking minds.
Yeah, it's dark. They are we are immortal. Oh God, please kill us. Oh God.
Yeah, as someone who, because Kate, you've read the manga, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The show didn't quite delve into it that much, at least as of yet. It just was kind of like, yep, we live here and we just do our thing, and we don't really understand why we do something. Like, it was very low key about it. Granted, the overall theme when Emily and I were watching was like, there's something fucked up about this. But I don't know, did the manga kind of go into that a little bit more? Because they left and they talked a little bit and kind of discussed with Leos and Marcel and the party about their general feelings about stuff, but they didn't at least outright express like a "we wish we were dead."
Well, it's
type
like
thing.
I think at one point, Senshi points out, or like they noticed that, like, they're like, hey, how come it's only young people left here? And it's because, like, they're slightly more resilient than the people who were stuck there as old people and were living out eternity as old people.
Yeah.
So they do mention, like, yeah, people have tried to leave, and then as soon as they leave here, they basically turn to bones and die because, like, time catches up with them.
Yeah. Did they say that in the show? Because if they did, I must have missed it and then just inferred.
The younger royal or whatever who's in charge of everything. I think they were calling him like village chief or something. He said he told them that, yeah, the ghosts you see out there are former, residents of here, and the ones that were closest to the castle still retain some of their sanity, but the rest are like wandering around and have completely just fallen apart, like, mentally.
Oh, that's right. And then they made the joke about how they made sorbet out of them.
Yeah. So,
which actually made me laugh.
Yeah.
That one got me good.
Because also, like, basically the dungeon keeps the souls there, which is fine if you still have a body for them to go back into. But if that body is not being, held up or processed or anything, then they're just floating for eternity in the dungeon.
In this case, at least, for mainly the betterment of the party.
Yeah, like, it's like, oh, good thing, you ran into a couple of good ghosts who were like, oh shit, this is fucked up. This is the guy who can help us get out of here.
I also really enjoyed the existential crisis that the cat lady character went through when they got back into the dungeon and she sort of regained her consciousness back for one way or the other, and then she realized she was acting like a cuddly cat and then just had to like freeze for a while.
Yeah, she's mortified, just kind of.
She's mortified
Is this Doobie's curled up in the corner, mortified?
Yeah, since she's curled up for good reason, she's curled up because of her good behavior.
Yeah, Itsuzumi's funny because I think they finally pointed out a couple of times, she's a fucking teenager.
Yeah.
And mostly cat. So
yeah, she's definitely very much cat in a standard cat way and not an anime cat way.
Yes, she is not. As people like to say, they're like, Izuzumi is the biblically accurate cat girl. She is more cat than girl.
Like 100% accurate.
And she is absolutely cat.
She reminds me of ours sometimes. They dote on her, and the main reaction you get from Itsuzumi or the cat is just to be physically attacked.
You really would have thought Laos is such a dog person. He's just like, come on, eat it, and she's like, ah, and just whacks him in the face with claws, and and they were like, oh no, it's like, she's a cat, guys, come on.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing here? This is not rocket science.
You cannot force her to like you. It's just not gonna happen.
Are you caught up to the most recent? Are you caught up to the end of the season, or?
I didn't watch the last episode, which I think was yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It has a good Itsuzumi moment, so.
Oh, does it? That's good. No, Emily and I caught up since we had recently gotten back from vacation and stuff, and just generally we're a little bit behind in the series because we had been watching other things or just busy in our evenings, but caught up like on Tuesday. So then when the last episode came out, didn't have time to watch it yesterday or today for the most part. So probably will this weekend sometime. Gotcha. I saw that a season 2 was already announced, so.
Yeah, they announced it before that, or right as they were airing that, I think. They threw a notice up online.
Yeah.
They kind of accidentally leaked that they were doing prep for or work on the next season in the most hilarious way possible. Is that in one of their little character sheets that they release, sometimes show the public. But they're like, here's these character sheets of characters in different poses. One of them that they released was just Senshi, all his panty shots.
Yeah.
and one of them is from like later in the manga. It was like a straight up, I'm like, that's not happening this season whatsoever. So clearly
I do particularly enjoy how so much of the fan service is senshi shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
him posing on the bed just in his underwear while they're like having their bedtime talk about stuff, or the panty shots of him falling over and stuff. I do love how they've sort of flipped that around so you just get like dwarf panty shots.
Yeah, and it's all intent. Like they're playing it up even from the manga. I mean, the manga's got a lot of that stuff, but there are a couple of shots where it's like you added the extra panty in there. You wanted the
Of
bulge.
course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I know, it's so funny.
I also read, I think I caught it on the like an anime like subreddit or something, that they also really went over the top with Senshi's handsomeness when he transforms into an elf. Like they turned that up. Is that true?
Trying to remember if they turned that up really. I don't think they did. I mean, he was pretty much. I mean, I think it's just because at least in the most recent episode, they did a lot more like triggery animation, so there were a lot more different poses than the manga. So there was a little bit more flashing skin, I guess. That's the only way to describe it. So,
speaking of Gainax's legacy, the creators of the Gainax bounce.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm glad that they were like, "Yep, we're moving right ahead." I wish we had like a general idea of when the second season's coming. Because I mean they try. I mean they tried their best to like throw a little bit of like some shots of the other parties moving down into the dungeon at the end there, because that would have just been a really hard cut to like, yeah, we're just gonna drop the season here if they did put that the bridging moment in there where it made it a little bit more season finale-esque than just hard cut in the middle of the storyline.
Yeah.
Kestrel, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it more as time has gone on. I agree that around the halfway point when it started to ramp up the stakes and have real plot development, that definitely helped my investment, and the way that they have been balancing that with the cooking element and the comedy in a way that feels more organic. I appreciate that. The way that the finale left off, of course, they just have to end at a certain point in the manga, so it's not going to be a very conclusive ending. But they do manage to tease kind of their goal going forward, which ties together the main plot with the cooking theme in a kind of clever way.
It's also batshit insane.
Yeah, very, very bizarre. Vor fans, this is for you.
This goes out to you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very, very interesting show. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely surprised me several times along the way. And I think when the anime started, I was saying that like it felt like the little omake segments at the end of a series where they do a little bit of cooking, and that was the whole show. Now it feels like, cooking is a major theme of it, but it's actually integrated into the plot in a meaningful way. And so it's able to feel more substantial than when it was the entirety of the show, which I appreciate because it actually matters now. So yeah, definitely appreciate it more. And yeah, I'm probably gonna start reading the manga. They're gonna have the mangaka at Anime Expo.
I'm jealous if you go to that and meet her.
Yeah. They just announced that they're gonna do the regular autograph distribution at Anime Expo, which is gonna be a shit show as always. But they are also going to have autographs at Kinokuniya in LA, and they're giving out tickets in a week, which means that only the people who live in LA can get it, which works out for me. So I'm gonna try to get that so that I have a little easier path for that, and it requires buying the first volume of the manga, which works perfectly.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think a really good example of, you said like food turning into the plot, is Senshi's, when you finally learn his background.
Yeah, that was great.
Was a really fantastic piece of like character and world building there, and utilizing the food as not just like we're doing this for, comfy food porn level type things and fun comedy, even though I do think the moment kind of after, when he's done telling his story, is one of the moments where I thought the comedy sort of fell on its face for me. I would have rather they kept treating it sort of more seriously in some way, like Leo's just being like, well, why don't we just do this? I don't know. That didn't hit as well as some of the other joke stuff, just because Senshi does so little talking about his background, and when he finally does, and you realize how tragic it is and potentially could be to cut to a joke that quick. Wasn't super well executed, but I did really enjoy the...
Is it a joke, or is it just Laios being extremely autistic?
Well, they certainly treated it as a joke, I felt, because then they all did their, comedically oversized facial reactions and everything. Like, nobody actually scolded him for being insensitive. They were just like, Laios, how could you? And then they just carried on like, nothing happened.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, like, not all the jokes or the attempts at jokes are going to hit. It's fine. It was just it was such an incredibly enthralling piece of background information for that series to see, how and why Senshi ends up in the dungeon, and kind of how he just lives in there, and you finally learn something about him other than he likes food, and then it gets cut off like that so quickly. But that whole little arc was great in the first place, and then they start cooking pieces of the griffin and everything. Was one of my favorite moments of the season, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
That whole area.
Yeah, it was definitely like Senshi's kind of the most likable character from a purely comedic standpoint already, and the most important character for the cooking theme of it. So to get a really serious, really tragic, emotional backstory to him as well, just really kind of solidified his character, and being able to feel really emotional about a mostly comedic character is always a mark of strength in writing. So I definitely appreciated that whole episode a lot.
Oh, speaking of character backstories, Kestrel, now you know why I was laughing when your friend called you Chilchuck.
Oh.
I was all like, yeah, Chilchuck, deadbeat anime dad.
Yeah, well, I don't know that necessarily translates to his day-to-day personality, which is what the...
I know. I just think it's funny that when the shoe finally drops, he's all like, I have a wife and daughters, and they were like, and yeah, Marcel's blah, like, look.
Yeah, that blah is great.
Like, wait, what? And then it's all like, yeah, and we're separated right now, so it's like, oh no, you're anime dad. You are the absentee anime dad. Oh, he gets more into his family stuff later, but it's kind of funny that he's just like, I have a wife and daughters, and everyone's all like, what? Because they have such a bad grasp on like half foot like
everything.
Span. Yeah, and everything basically. They're like,
yeah,
you're
definitely. I definitely also appreciate just in the second half in general, really getting to know the characters as people and whatever their backstories are, and I'm sure there's lots more development for all of them in the future. So I'm looking forward to more of that. Even the finale had some of that with our actual protagonist that we hadn't seen in any detail before. So yeah, that's definitely been enjoyable.
Hobo Laios.
Yeah, exactly.
Deserted from the military, Hobo Laios.
Yeah.
How far did the first season go?
Way through.
Okay.
About a little bit more than halfway through, I think. I think they stopped somewhere in volume 8. and it's 14 volumes in total.
Okay, cool. So we're pretty well on track to get it all animated before too long.
Yeah, there's like one more full 24 episode season, and that'll be it.
Right.
Oh,
cool. Yeah, I mean, since it got its sequel announced as soon as the season ended, I assume that it's been doing well, and the guys at Trigger are enjoying working on it. So.
Well, I know the manga has been mostly sold out everywhere in English for a while. So the Netflixification
yes
is selling books and probably going back to several reprints to keep those in stock.
Well, they better be in stock in a week because they are required to get an autograph ticket.
Yeah.
Now, when we get the live action...
God. That normally I would be like, that's an incredibly cursed thing to say, but I mean, now anything goes. So
yeah, they can make it work.
that'd be easier to make work than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary, but
no.
I don't think most of these are necessary.
Yeah, that's a key point there. Probably 90% of them plus.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are liking the show. I like that manga a lot. I'm also a big D&D player, and I like food. So those two things play into it. So
it does check those boxes well.
It checks those boxes incredibly well. So yeah.
Kestrel, when you said the actual protagonist of the show that we didn't get a lot of background information about, for some reason, the first thing I thought of was, oh, you mean Kensuke?
Oh, of course.
Kensuke is the clear protagonist of the show that we haven't gotten background on yet.
Yeah, second season's just going to follow Kensuke exclusively.
Exclusively from Kensuke's perspective as well.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, I think if everyone has gotten everything out of their system that they want to say, I think we can move on a little bit here. I think one of the other show that we're all three of us are watching is Spice and Wolf, so we could talk about that a little bit. Now, I'm not super caught up on this, so I don't know how much I could really contribute. It has fallen a little bit behind compared to the others. Not for any particular reason, it just hasn't been at the top, but I have enjoyed what I have watched, so I think the main thing that I just wanted to say before I kind of let you two talk about it for however long you'd like is, I know it was getting some criticism for not looking particularly good, but I thought it looked perfectly fine throughout the season. I do know the original is relatively ugly, but the new one is absolutely like serviceable, I guess. No, it doesn't blow your fucking socks off or anything, but it isn't like Tonbo, which I am very much enjoying Tonbo, but that's a fucking ugly anime right there.
Yeah, I mean, I still find this new Spice and Wolf anime not particularly attractive. I still regularly find myself going like, as I watch it.
Is it more like the art in general, like the animation quality or something? Where do you find yourself sort of falling out of it in that way?
Yeah, I think I find it off-model occasionally. Limited animation, which is fine because they're not doing that much. But yeah, I think just the models, I don't love the color design, has never really worked for me. And yeah, I find it to be off-model more often than I'd like to see.
Cade, what do you think?
Well, compared to the old series, it looks fantastic, but that's
Of
not
course.
no, because the old series, the old series was budget. This isn't like this is more modern level, not budget, but not like oh my god, balls to the wall, like put like these people are into it. But I think it looks good. Like it is a talkie show, so it's gonna be a lot of people. It's got what it's got a little bit of the soap opera filter thing going on, like a little bit of
Yeah.
bloom, a little bit soft. It's you know very very leaning into just like very pastelly almost shades of
Kind of washed out.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a choice. It's not a bad
Right.
choice. It's just a choice.
Yeah. That's definitely something deliberate that I just don't entirely agree with, but certainly legitimate to do. Like I said, I still think it goes off model sometimes. I think the lines aren't very sharp, which kind of goes with the soft look, I guess. But yeah, both the line density, the color design, and just the general consistency of artwork, I've been noticing as I watch.
It's yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's fine.
Well, that out of the way, how are you thinking of the story and everything? I know it's pretty much. I'm under the impression that it's a shot for shot remake almost. Like it's covering the same material that the first season, covered a while back. I don't know if it's going into any more detail than it was before, or
Yeah,
just changing up what it covers versus what it doesn't or anything. But
yeah, like we mentioned before, the first adaptation did cut out some material that it thought would not be relevant, and then it was. Um, so, in that sense, we're seeing some stuff covered a little bit differently, a little more detail, and a little bit different order to be more faithful to the source material. And, it's not necessarily shot for shot because the source material is, of course, just prose. So, you can't necessarily get scene direction out of that. Um, but certainly some scenes look very similar to how they're executed as the original did. Um, yeah, I mean, it's good material. It gets a lot better later on, which hopefully they get to. Uh, but I think it is doing a serviceable job at it.
it did
Yeah, I don't
manage to make the idea of currency exchange as a way to do business interesting. So I definitely give it kudos for that.
Mhm.
I felt a little bit bad for Emily when we were watching it because I was like, "Isn't this intriguing? How they can they'll buy the old silver coins and then they'll trade them for the new silver coins that have a more pure silver." And I could just hear the eyeballs rolling back into her skull. But that is what it is. We're watching that one together too, and she isn't enamored with Hollow as a character because that character type just doesn't really gel with what she likes most of the time, at least the early episodes that we have watched. But in general, she's liking the sort of low key feel of it and everything. So yeah, I will give it kudos for that.
think about the series in general is that like Lawrence isn't like an idiot.
You mean Cheesy
She's
Larry?
Oh my God.
Oh, why did you bring that back? I had forgotten
Because
about that.
I'm not gonna allow it to fade away, even if Bran's not here.
Oh God.
But I will let you continue without interrupting with the proper character name.
No. Anyway, he's not an idiot. He's a competent, merchant. So like it's a nice change of pace from the usual like I'm a 1,000-year-old dragon. I know everything, but I don't really. But you're an idiot thing that a lot of shows do when they have these dynamics between the two people. Um,
Yeah, he holds his own in those conversations even early on, which I think is also a nice, refreshing change. Like, she tries to kind of bait him a little bit with that sort of godly arrogance in a way, but he's not buying it,
yeah.
Mhm.
which is nice.
Yeah, and that's definitely very important to their character dynamic and how their relationship develops throughout the story. because he can stand toe to toe with her on that. She can stand toe to toe with him on economics and think of clever ideas that he wouldn't, even though he has all the experience. So their mutual respect and kind of fun rivalry is a major theme of their relationship.
Yeah, like fleecing that guy with the apple furs.
Yeah.
Game, respect, game. I like how that was her reasoning afterwards. She's like, game, respect, game. He'll get over it.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, girl, okay. But yeah, she's like, okay, he does this for a living. He'll be like, haha, good show, okay, get it. Yeah. And then, like, it's like, yeah, I hope you can take the accurate read of a person. He's not like a closet lunatic or something, but...
Yeah, I don't know if there was a whole lot more you guys really wanted to discuss with this one in particular, just since, you have, in essence, watched it before. So,
yeah.
And we can, and read it and played the VR game, I bet.
Of course. I mean, that's the definitive Spice and Wolf experience.
Oh, God.
You can't call yourself a true fan if you didn't buy the VR game.
Absolutely.
With that, I say, unless Kate, you had other stuff you wanted to say about it, talk about.
Spice and Wolf. It is what it is. It's Spice and Wolf. Which is nice. It's nice to see an updated, version of the story that's a little closer to the source material. I don't know if they're how far into the story they're gonna go.
Right.
Like, I don't know how this is doing. Like, regardless of, I don't know what metric they're measuring this by, how far they plan on taking it. So.
Yeah.
Well, the original series covered what, the first 2 books or something like that.
Well,
I can't remember. I know it stopped at a certain area.
It skipped around. It was 1, 2, skip 3, 4, 5, I think. So 4 volumes, but they skipped the whole volume because, like we said, they didn't think it was important.
But yeah, that's the thing. It already got 2 TV series. It already covered a bunch of books. It's going at roughly the same pace. It's not like the old one was slow. It's arguably a slower pace because they're not skipping any material. They're not necessarily gonna be able to just pump out a bunch of content right off the bat. Doesn't seem to be particularly high budget, etc., etc. So if it doesn't succeed, then it will have effectively just been the same material except even less, with a slightly newer aesthetic and different music. So yeah, it will have barely justified its existence if it can't get a lot more material eventually. Because Black Butler is airing the same season, and those both started at the same time. Black Butler, they just kept doing sequels. This, they rebooted. So for them to justify rebooting after 15 years, they definitely need to actually cover more material.
Yeah, that seems to be the prevailing theory. Is just it has to continue on, or it's just gonna end at the same spot, and then what was the point?
Right, maybe even earlier.
Yeah, potentially earlier, because it would, end in volume 4 instead of 5.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm sure at this point the season's almost over. It must be 2 cores, right? I'll go look that up. No one knows.
I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Because if not, then it could end much, much earlier. Yeah, it's 25 episodes, so at least we are getting 2 cores off the bat, so that helps. But it could still only cover 4 books or so.
I hope it keeps going, because I'd like to see the stuff that hasn't been adapted yet, because there's some good dramatic stuff in some of those middle volumes that would be nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And
everything on the island, everything past the island.
Yeah. And although the light novel series is technically still going again, it did have an ending. So if they could just adapt up through the original ending, then that would be great. Because when you reboot something that is already still running and has no clear stopping point, then even if it covers further, you're still going to end up in the same situation where it's like, well, that's another incomplete version of that story. So at least this one has a place to end, and it's satisfying and doesn't need any more.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But so far, so good. All right, well then, how about we move on here? Kestrel, I wanted to talk a little bit with you about Yuru Camp.
Okay.
So, how you feeling about this season? I'm a little lukewarm on it, but I don't know if it's just me being a grump. So...
No, I think everyone's kind of feeling that.
Okay.
I don't know that I can nail down exactly why. I just
Me neither.
care less.
Yeah, I took my like weekly bath where I relax, and I was trying yesterday to think about what exactly about this season just isn't hitting with me, and I came up with like 3 or 4 different components, but none of them feel exactly right, and I can't even say if you put all of them together it even equals the whole picture as to why. So then I just chalked it up with me being a cynical old man.
No, like everyone in my server, my Discord server where we talk about anime is lukewarm on the season. I know DJ's also lukewarm on the season. I'm definitely enjoying it, but as I watch it and I think about season 2, I was like, man, I was really feeling that season. This one is just kind of background noise a little bit. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure entirely why.
Yeah, that's out of all the shows that I've been watching, and I think even Spice and Wolf to some extent, even though I'm not caught up with it for one reason or the other, Yuru Camp was actually the most difficult one for me to watch because it did feel, I don't know, when I was watching at times, like I could just go back and watch season 1 or something. Like, and I'd be interested to hear what your sort of data from them is like, but one of the things that I guess bothers me and turns it into background noise a little bit at times is I feel like it's sort of jumped the shark with its premise in some ways. Like when you have an episode that's just called "Here Comes the Food Porn,"
Right.
I'm like, all right, like I know that the early seasons, like season 1 and then season 2 and everything was really, obviously they cooked their food, and part of it was about buying the food and special stuff at the campsite area that was indicative of the place in Japan they were at. But I guess it just felt like it was trying way too hard.
Yeah.
In some ways, and now the camping trips feel less like camping trips and more like excuses to watch recipes.
Yes, a lot of recipes going on.
There's so many you can't watch 5-6 minutes of this show anymore without it being another recipe for something.
Now,
And them
where's that
eating it.
book?
Yeah, and that was the first part, I think, that kind of wears on me a little, was those early seasons and everything. Like, there was the cooking, but it felt like a greater part of the whole as you got to understand, like, the girls' personalities and them hanging out and, gelling and getting to spend time just in the outdoors and all sorts of really fun, relaxing things with some sort of light tourism board stuff thrown in it. And that's another thing. I think it's going really hard in the tourism part as well, which is a little off-putting sometimes. But this really, I don't know. Maybe it's ran its premise and they don't really have anywhere to go. So they're just like, people want to see anime food, so we're just going to give them anime food.
Yeah, that's how it's kind of felt from the beginning of this season, is they kind of had 2 seasons worth of fresh content to explore.
Yep.
And now it's just, well, we have food porn in this show. What if we just, try way too hard and make it the food porn show? And you like these characters, let's flanderize them and have an episode dedicated to each of them doing all their tropes that you all love and quote. So yeah, it definitely has that kind of vibe of less organic, more forced, not as fresh. I guess it's the food aspect is kind of the opposite of what we were talking about with Dungeon Meshi, where it used to be very naturally integrated into the plot, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's so standalone and so all-consuming, which is the opposite of how Dungeon Meshi has been going.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, they would each bring a. It got to the point where, in that first season early, and that's a really good point where it was they would just all bring one piece of like a hot pot,
Mm-hmm.
and then make a hot pot and be like, this is good. And the hot pot and things almost felt like it was the food version of their like relationship to each other. Like it had a sort of symbolism in it, as silly as that may sound. And now it's just like everybody's bringing their own fucking kitchens
Yeah. And
and
just
making stuff.
spending the whole episode with, voiceover of every step of a recipe.
Yeah, of like doing stuff with pizza dough, and it's just like I really don't fucking care. Like you make this pizza, and then you make your Japanese pizza with mayonnaise, and then you do something else. And the dream episode thing also, I really didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
where they had Nadeshko in a picture-in-picture.
Yeah. Constantly breaking the fourth wall. It was like, it wasn't a dream, right? It was like a flashback.
Yeah,
They,
it
they
was
were like
something.
recounting their trip without her to
Well, I
her.
think they
And,
reference it as a dream world once or twice because there's a YouTube dog there.
yeah.
Like it's that I really it was not working with me at that point. Like I just wanted those two episodes to be over.
Yeah. It definitely seemed like they were going too hard on a concept that no one really asked for. It was like, yeah, let's I think they're trying too much to be like a gag show. I think I appreciated the series. I mean, I think it's still probably one of my favorite Hiyashike shows, but it felt more like that kind of atmosphere that you go to those shows for, and less of the cute girls doing cute things, comedy gag anime that a lot of Hiyashike is part or mostly focused on. Now it's starting to feel more like a lot of those other shows, which, I think a lot of people enjoy, and you enjoy a lot of them as well. But I think Eurocamp used to feel different. It used to
Yeah.
feel more serene, more sincere, more like you could just relax in it and take in the scenery around them, and really get down with their state of mind. Whereas now it's rapid fire jokes in a way that makes the atmosphere very different.
Yeah, you go into a gag show knowing it's a gag show,
Yeah.
and you're kind of prepared to not really get too emotionally invested in it or lots of other things. With, like what you said here, it's early on in Yuru Camp, yeah, you were in it for the character relationships with each other and getting to know them and having them sort of take on this hobby together with Rin as sort of an unofficial guide to all of them to help
Mhm.
a little bit and all this stuff. And yeah, now it's just everyone's sort of a caricature of themselves,
Right.
which does lead me into my second like criticism of the show, and I think it is Rin as a character.
Hmm.
She doesn't feel all the time like Rin anymore.
Yeah.
Where I used to appreciate her for being a more insular, introverted character, that she was, kind of slowly opening up, and she provided an important dynamic to the group that had a lot of very bombastic characters in them already.
Mhm.
But then when they did the couple episodes where they were doing the bridge crossing and everything like that,
Yeah.
in those episodes, she was just kind of a Nadeshko light.
Right.
And I understand having, especially those two relationship is closer than with the other girls in the camp, and you can have your personality sort of influence and rub off on each other in a lot of ways, but it just kind of felt like when they were doing it with Rin, I was like, her whole thing that made her endearing was the fact that she was a sort of calming presence and like a cozy personality amongst the cacophony that the other three can make sometimes.
Yeah.
And that didn't really happen this season. She's just kind of a Nadeshko light and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that bothered me a little bit. And not to mention in her fucking solo camp episode, the first thing she does, she gets a solo camp. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have a nice like calming Rin episode where she just sits and enjoys it. No, we get another fucking episode where it's just a recipe for making pasta. The only redeeming part of that was the I hope no Italians are around when she breaks the spaghetti in half. I did laugh at that joke.
That was good, yeah.
That was good, because I was thinking right before, I was like, I hope they make an Italian joke here. I don't know if they would, but I hope they do, and then they did. But yeah, I know I've criticized it a lot over the past couple minutes, but I do still enjoy it. It's just, yeah, it's changed in some ways that I don't think are conducive to it maintaining the same quality or longevity. I don't know how much longer they were trying to milk this property, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree about Rin too. I've definitely noticed that, and I think that probably goes into what I was saying before, what I feel is missing, what I really enjoyed about especially season 2. I think it was those, solo camping, relaxing moments with Rin where we were able to really let the scenery breathe and let the moment, have its time. And it just seems too breakneck now. Everything needs to be progressing something, and that wasn't really the appeal of the show to me. And yeah, Rin's character certainly goes into that, because if she's always around other people and just being another one of the goofy, loud bunch, then yeah, she kind of loses the thing that made her unique and special in this series, and she was definitely always my favorite character before now.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite character amongst the group, because at least when the show was, I'm just going to go ahead and say in its prime, even though it's not old, they could interchange which one was my favorite based off of the situation that the episode was in. Because I also like Snaggletooth Girl a lot. But yeah, Rin provided a very important dynamic that is missing, so
yeah.
But,
yeah, and I mean, this is all still based on the manga, I think, so I don't know if around this time in the manga they just kind of ran out of ideas, or if it's just adapting it in a different way because it is a new team behind it, or what's going on. But yeah, I mean, it's not like it's anime original content as far as I know.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have any knowledge of the source material or how long it goes either, so I couldn't say. But yeah, I would be curious to at least maybe I don't know how you could necessarily look it up without just reading it, except maybe by trolling through some subreddits that talk about Guru Camp, and maybe someone has, opines on the same criticisms and supplies, source material justification for that. But yeah. I'm also not a super huge fan of the character design of some of them. I don't know, maybe it's their eyes being like triangles that fucks with me sometimes.
Yeah, it's always been kind of this way, but definitely the angular nature and just the shape of their eyebrows and everything. Yeah, it's kind of a weird looking series, but I guess it always has been in some sense.
It feels like it's been ratcheted up here though, because I think this is a new studio or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there definitely is some changes. Like Nadeshko looks different, period.
Yeah.
Her hairstyle has been changed. Though I think they all have some subtle changes. I just noticed hers the most because her hair got especially pointy.
Yes.
But yeah, still gonna keep watching it. I do enjoy it. It just, maybe has been demoted to more kind of backgroundy stuff, like especially when they go into a recipe, and I'm like, well, I guess I can go refill my water real quick, and I'll come back, and they'll still be talking about when to put, the olive oil into the pan or whatever the fuck.
You gotta follow along with the recipe.
I'm not gonna cook any of this. Though I would try the cardboard smoker thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how realistic that is and how successful that kind of thing can really be, because that's the first I've ever heard of someone smoking food with a rack inside of a cardboard box, but I would certainly give that a try.
Yeah.
Why not? What do you have to lose? A couple handfuls of peanuts or whatever. So I would do that, not so much the others.
Get back to me when they attempt to make carburetor chicken.
Oh, like on Rin's moped? They just strap a chicken to the side of the like fucking 100cc motor that she has. Well, yeah, all right. So I think we can shift into something else. I did notice that you dropped bartender, which is sad, but I can understand why. Like we had talked about a little bit earlier, it's just among other things, it's also like a demographic deal. You ain't it.
Yep. I could not be any less the demographic for the show.
If Bran was here, we'd talk about it a little bit more, but I would just say, at least from someone who is in the demographic, it is nice and kind of a sort of relaxing Yashike element just with adults, though they've introduced a few dramatic elements a little bit here on about like the difference between almost like a weird classist type thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, well, of course, the main guy, you and your fucking really nice classy bars, you don't see what it's like out here on the goddamn streets.
Mm-hmm.
Which was an interesting little dynamic that they went with, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I do chuckle every episode still about how much detail is given to people's hands when they shake drinks and how little detail has been given to so many other things. But I think that also just benefits from I didn't go in with like super high expectations of it looking like incredibly nice. So it hits it where it counts, which is in making the drinks look good and, intriguing to try and stuff. I will say that, and I was actually going bar hopping with one of my friends. Once a month, we just go to a couple different bars in York here and just talk about anime over some drinks and food and stuff. And I can't think of any time I've been to a bar that the bartender knows anywhere even close to the amount of information that these people know in this show about like drinks in history. Like that is, I don't know if that's a Japanese thing or obviously like super fantasized about it, and I've been to some relatively fancy bars, like some expensive ass bars, just to even go for like the tourism value, I guess you could say, of being like, there's a bar in DC where a lot of I think it was just called like the Velvet Room or something like that, I can't remember anymore, where a lot of government figures would go because it's really close to the Congress building and all that. But they certainly didn't sit there and like tell me the history of drinks or be able to recommend me something without asking me or any of that stuff that they talk about. But I chalk that up in a lot of ways also to just anime,
Yeah.
fantasy building.
It is the fantasy of the magical bartender who actually gives a shit about you.
Yeah, it is the romanticization of that career path to the extreme in a lot of ways.
Yep.
As opposed to, I'm fucking broke college student and I'm mixing drinks to pay off my student loans.
Yep. The closest they get to that is the one girl in the series that she doesn't know what she wants to be, and she almost quits being a bartender just to do something else. And then, of course, she meets the main character and then decides, what, bartending is pretty fucking cool. And then does a bunch of other stuff. Like, it really romanticizes that job path, but it's also an anime. Of course, it's going to do that.
Oh, I only know one person that quit their job to do bartending because it was more lucrative, and that was a former newspaper reporter.
That fucking makes sense. Newspaper reporter and wealthy are two things I don't think I've ever thought of in the same sentence.
People I knew who were moonlighting on the side as bartenders were fucking newspaper people.
I would watch an anime about that. Newspaper reporters, moonlighting as bartenders, collecting information from their patrons to support their reporting capabilities, and then the moral and ethical complications that arise from that. I would watch an anime about that.
Sounds much more interesting than this show.
At least from a dramatic standpoint, for sure. You'd have to make some sacrifices with hand. Well, no, you could put even more money into the hand animation because then you could show them, I don't know, writing notes in a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? This works. We're gonna put together a pitch and we're gonna make this happen.
Absolutely.
I'd be down for that.
But yeah, if you're in the demographic, it's pretty good. Just is what it is. But how about we talk about some Demon Slayer?
Sure.
Or as I thought about it up until I think the last episode here, I was like the fucking Tanjiro bootlicker arc. But yeah. I'm having a really good time with it. It looks really great, as it always does. The action is well animated, and I don't really care what the creator says about the visual effects not actually existing in that world. I don't accept that.
Wait, what was that?
There was something that I read a while ago that I think like the studio, like the animators of the mangaka or something, was saying like all the visual effects you see when they do the breathing techniques don't actually exist in that world. It's more for you to watch, to visualize what is kind of happening. But like they don't see those.
Right.
Like the characters don't see them, which I don't accept. That is false. I don't care what they say.
Yeah. You think they're just generating water and fire and lightning bolts when they
Hell yeah. I mean, they're fighting demons and stuff. It's not that outlandish to think that.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm also, like, I can't get over how ripped Tanjiro is, too. He's so fucking buff, it's insane.
On his little body with his little smiley baby face.
Yeah, on his tiny and his little smiley baby face, which I know I've criticized Demon Slayer comedy before, but I have laughed a couple times this season at his baby face moments, like when he's trying to convince that other Hashira to come back for the training and he just slides in the door with his baby face. I did laugh at that. Like, I have to give credit where credit is due. The babyface Tanjiro is super effective on me most of the time.
Yeah, that's a good visual gag.
Yeah.
And that whole bit where he was like, the Tomioka was like, all right, I'm convinced. I'm going to do it. And he's like, all right, you're not convinced. We're going to have a noodles eating contest. He's like, oh, okay, I guess we're having a noodle eating contest then.
Yeah, where he was about to say, you know what, I'll help you with the training.
Exactly, yeah.
And then Tanjiro doesn't know when to shut up.
Yep.
So they do the noodle eating, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a fun, funny little season.
Yeah, and it's I've been thinking about their training for the Hashiras, and I guess I was thinking of the strategic value of training all the no-name characters and how everyone thinks it's worthless to do so, other than Tanjiro pretty much, and then Inosuke and stuff. But I think I disagree with that in particular. Like, at the very least, if you train up the no-names to be better than they were before, they could hold off the grunt forces, leaving the Hashira and the Tanjiros of the world to focus on the big guys, because I would find it hard to believe that as they assault the infinite, castle, or Infinity Castle, whatever it's called, that it's just going to be upper demons there. There's going to be a shitload of demons who aren't upper demons that you could just kind of tell these, your version of, your no-name henchmen to go handle. And with them being in a better spot that they're at now, you could have a little more confidence that you don't have to, babysit them as much.
And they kind of acknowledge that, they feel demotivated because they're so bad and Tanjiro's so good, and then they come around to realizing that there's value in them bettering themselves to support Tanjiro. So they're on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
No, I agree. It led me to think some more thoughts about like how Japanese societal work ethic is reflected in this particular arc sometimes when I'm watching it, where everyone's just like pushing themselves to the incredible extreme to support each other as a team, and not one singular person is allowed to be like, no, fuck this.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all like, you know what, never mind. We're all going to cry, and then we're going to work even harder until we're vomiting all the time because it's for the betterment of the team and for the society. And that's just, a general societal attitude they have over there, which makes it difficult. Yeah. Where it's just everybody's willing to go all out all the time, regardless of any of the potential consequences. And I understand that. It was just, I had that feeling when I was watching it.
And it's very specifically the theme of Weekly Shonen Jump in general. So yeah, it definitely obviously stems from Japanese culture in all aspects, and work and otherwise. But that's like the core tenets of Weekly Shonen Jump are exactly that.
Yeah, working super hard, sacrificing yourself for the team at all costs.
Yeah.
Never really questioning authority or anything of that nature unless it's, blatantly obvious to do so from a moral standpoint. And even then, sometimes they're just like, they take the abuse.
Yep, pretty much.
So it's just, I didn't really know how to bring it up to talk about it constructively, because there had to be at least a couple people that's like, what is this training even doing for us? Why are we even like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
But overall, a fun arc so far. I do think it could struggle with pacing because of, from what I've been told about how short this arc is in the manga and how they're trying to turn it into an entire season as illustrated in Tanjiro and Tengen fighting, and it took a decent amount of time for one episode, and then the manga, it is like a single page of a chapter. And then they stretch it out, so I'm going to be interested to see how they get the pacing down for an entire season's arc when it's so short.
Well, it's almost done. There's only like 2 or 3 episodes left, because it's a very short season because it was such a short arc. That's why it started halfway into the season. It's still going to end with everything else in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, because it'll be what? How many episodes?
8.
8. Counting the one that's 48 as one, or
yeah, so effectively 9 episodes.
So yeah, effectively 9, because that one was a double length episode.
Yeah, which I think it is 9 chapters too, which is an excruciating pace for 20 pages per chapter to 24 minutes per anime episode. But it is the kind of series that so much of the appeal of the anime is like the choreography and animation and visual spectacle. So if they have a fight that takes a page in the manga, then expanding on that to, create something that makes you excited to watch it is not the worst thing that an adaptation could do.
And I will be interested to see if Tengen does come back and fight someone, because he keeps talking about how he really wish he could. Mm-hmm. And I struggle to think of a reason why not.
Yeah.
Because he's clearly still way better than Tanjiro, who is the strongest in a lot of ways of that core group of the 3 of them, like the most well-rounded. And he was spanking Tanjiro's ass with one arm. So I don't see a reason why he couldn't come back to do some fighting, especially because they're obviously going to need all hands on deck.
Even if they only have one hand.
Yeah, so I'm I would not be surprised if they did a thing where he like comes back in some type of like sacrificial move or something, or something super badass where he shows up to buy time at the last minute, because he's clearly still got it.
Right. It would be very, yeah, good.
All I was gonna say is it's not like he's fucking washed up or anything.
Yeah. I mean, to give him this much attention in the training arc that precedes the apparently extremely long final battle arc, there's no way he's sitting that whole arc out.
No,
He's
not a
definitely
chance.
going to be relevant.
And they mentioned it too many times within his short period of this arc too. Like, man, he just really wishes he could get back out there.
Yep.
Really sucks he can't. It's like, well, why not? They didn't fire him. I think they said he retired, and people come out of retirement all the time.
Yeah.
I am a little bit concerned about how Nezuko is going to be utilized moving forward. And I have a feeling we're going to just have her be not a damsel in distress, so to speak, but she has combat capabilities, but she's such a liability and an asset now that they're just going to lock her away, and now her character arc in a lot of ways is over. And now she's just the prize that Michael Jackson wants to get. And then they have to protect, because she has like the really insanely strong transformation and then the blood demon art and all that stuff, and she's defeated the sun, but now you can't of course like risk her going out with Tanjiro, because all they'd have to do at that point is just distract Tanjiro long enough to kidnap Nezuko and it's fucking over.
Right.
So what do you do with her character at that point? You just kind of lock her away and then protect her, and then if she fights, it's for like a very last moment desperation type thing. So we'll see, but I'm a little concerned there. I don't read the manga, obviously, so I don't know anything about that prediction, how accurate it could possibly be. It's just one of those things where, and they've only really shown Nezuko for the most part just kind of sitting around. So we'll see. I hope they do something more with her, and I can understand strategically why they wouldn't, but I don't think it would make for a very dramatic piece for her anymore.
Yeah. I feel like she's got to have more going on, even if it would be a bad plan on their part. Yeah, there's too much potential with her character, and she's too prominent to just kind of sit it out.
Yeah, of course. I guess what I could see them doing is they make the good plan, and then she breaks, like she rebels and breaks, therefore taking all the risk on herself, kind of.
Yeah,
like
probably.
Begrudgingly going with the plan at first, and then rebelling and breaking from the plan when she notices that shit's starting to go pear-shaped.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen that throughout the arcs already. Like, Tanjiro only wants to protect Nezuko. He doesn't want her to ever be part of a fight. And then he ends up getting his ass kicked, and she has to bust in and save him. So, yeah, it would make absolute sense for it to follow the same formula, where they're like, all right, you need to be completely protected from anyone being able to get to you, but she's in some capacity that she can tell what's going on and realizes that her brother's going to die if she doesn't step in, so the same thing will repeat itself.
Yep. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they adapt the rest in general, because as we were talking about amongst ourselves a few days ago, the rest of the series is apparently the final arc. Yep. And what they've been doing so far is, after the first one or two arcs, is just each arc gets a TV season, and it is called the name of that arc, no matter how long or short it is. And then the next year, at the same time, they do the next arc and repeat. So if the next arc is going to be the entire rest of the series, and it's going to be like, I don't know, 7 times longer than this arc, then that's probably not feasible. They can't just start it next year and get all the way through it and keep this level of quality. So I'm sure they're going to split it up a bunch. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do TV seasons or movies or their bullshit not movies that make buttloads of money. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally love to see the series end on a movie, like an honest to goodness, like Mugen Train type movie.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be a huge final battle, so then to get that on the big screen, with especially given the fact that the battles and the art and the action are what carry this season, it doesn't have nearly as much like interesting character drama or background stuff. It's really good, decent characters, but it's how pretty and fluid and amazing the action looks. So to get that on a big screen would be dope as hell.
And I think, they obviously Mugen Train was the biggest success in the history of Japanese cinema. And then they did the TV version of it, and you can only get away with that entirely one time. Like, if they followed up the next season with a movie right after that, then everyone would know that it's going to get a TV version anyway. Maybe it wouldn't do quite as well. It would still do very well, obviously. But maybe not to quite the same extreme. But if they pull that for the actual finale of the series, that would inspire people to show up, because it doesn't matter if there's going to be a TV version of it later. They're all going to want to see the ending of the series when it comes out as early as possible. So that would be a good strategy for that point.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I guess we'll know in a few weeks, right? They always announce the next arc at the end of the current one. So, like, at the end of Swordsmith Village, they announced Hashira Training. At the end of Entertainment District, they announced Swordsmith Village, I believe.
Yeah.
So we'll know if they're going to try to go right into, like, the final battle part 1 with 1 or 2 cores sometime next year, or if they're going to hold off for a few years to maybe bank a bit more content so that we can get, maybe 2 cores at once. Yeah, we'll see what we get for announcements. I guess we don't always know the format that it'll take immediately or when it will be released. Just they'll be like, anime production confirmed for Hashira Training Arc. Maybe they say TV series, but probably not like spring 2024. So I guess we'll see what comes out of the end of this one, if anything.
Yeah, what the little tidbits they feed us.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun to watch, especially with how bullshit their stupid fake movies are. But yeah, that's about it for at least Demon Slayer stuff on my end. And I think in general that is about everything that we are sharing in watching together. I did want to get your opinion now that we're getting close to the end of the season on Kaiju number 8, because I haven't started it yet, but I still know it's kind of the hotness and everything as a next rising shonen property.
Yeah, it's definitely continuing on that trend. It is a great action spectacle. It's a lot of fun. The characters are really enjoyable. It's starting to build up some interesting plot threads. And, it's following every shonen series, has its unique elements at first, and then they all kind of end up following the same beats. And that's true of this as well. But I think it's being executed well enough, and its general concepts and themes are universal and different enough from the normal shonen series that I think it's still certainly worth checking out, and definitely a fun and visually thrilling series to watch.
Yeah, it's for sure on my list to pick up because it's been hyped so much and everything. And I think one of the mangas you mentioned in the list was like you said like a B-sides or something, like spin-off stuff. So they're giving it all that treatment. Granted, a lot of stuff gets that treatment, but still,
yeah,
it is popular enough that they felt that would be worth it.
They're definitely pushing it as much as possible. Crunchyroll is advertising it very heavily. Yeah, and it's definitely clear that the Japanese side from the beginning of production wants it to be the next big hit. They're putting a lot into it. Very smooth animation, big production IG, kind of, marquee title. Kara, speaking of Gainax Legacy, has contributed to it as well. They do all the monster designs and the opening and stuff. And they've done not a lot of anime work outside of Eva so far, so it's cool to see them involved in something new. Yeah, no, it's definitely worth checking out. And I mean, clearly they want it to be, we talked about this last time, but they want it to be a hit in the West because the opening and ending are both by Western musical acts, which is strange to watch. But yeah, they're pushing real hard.
Well, we'll see if the gamble pays off.
Yeah. I feel like it's more popular than like Hell's Paradise was, for example. I think that's a series that they wanted to succeed more than it maybe did. This one seems to be doing okay. Like, it's no Demon Slayer, but it seems to be making the rounds.
Yeah, it's getting some recognition, unlike Hell's Paradise, which, just kind of went over like a lead balloon, it feels like, despite all of the quality that it had. I guess, not to get into it too much, the main thing I saw is that people really they had problems with the pacing, I guess.
Okay.
That seems to be, every time it comes up, people are just like, first couple episodes are great, and then it drags real hard, which I don't know. I don't agree or disagree. I'd have to watch them again almost, because I liked it enough that I just maybe didn't notice it, but I like world building a lot, so.
Yeah. I think that's probably the issue, is people go into shonen expecting a different kind of slow pacing, and when it's just kind of world building, it's, I don't know, it's not what they're looking for or something.
Yeah.
But
all right, cool.
I think Kaiju number 8 is definitely like a very easy sell. Like, everyone can get into this show.
Mm-hmm. Okay, doke. Well, I only have one other thing that I'm watching, that is Tonbo, which I kind of wish Chris was here because it seems like he's heavy into it. So it'd
perhaps the only other person watching it.
Exactly, perhaps the only other person watching it. Because what do you say? He talks about it every week.
Yeah.
Somewhere. So I mean, it's been a manga for a good long time as well. Which the funniest part is, it's not a manga in a manga magazine. It's a manga that's serialized in Golf Digest.
Really?
Yeah. It's like Golf Digest's Japanese version called like Golf Digest Weekly.
Wow.
And it's a manga that's been running in that for quite some time now. But it's good. It is definitely more technical, and as the creator put it, because I found out about this anime by reading an interview with the gentleman who's directing it. But
I sent you that.
Yeah, okay, right. You sent it to me, and then I just can't remember the guy's name at this point, which is par for the course for me. But he had mentioned that it was more technical, and for people who really like golf and the ins and outs of how like the swing works and all the body mechanics that go into it, and it definitely does that. Like, that is for sure, which is when it's at its best, when they're out on the course playing, and Tonbo is doing all these crazy shots that really aren't that crazy, because I've seen pros do them all the time. They just feel crazy because she's like 10 years old and taught herself everything for golf, like that classic, style. Like, I have this one club that I just do everything with, so I'm a wizard with this one club, and then she slowly learns how to utilize other lofted clubs and ways to play their golf course, and plays against other people that expand her horizons, and they're trying to instill in her a sense of ambition because she really doesn't want to play to her potential for any reason. So they're trying to do that. That's kind of the big character arc, is getting Tanbo to leave the island they live on and start to try and play golf or pursue it in some way competitively, because she's really, really good. It's just it is for sure more for people who like golf, and it's not going to have the same vibe that like Haikyuu or ping pong or those kind do, where it's like the sport doesn't matter and it's more about the characters. This one is definitely more the sport does, and it's just about that. And as I mentioned earlier, it's also pretty fucking ugly for the most part. In a way, it's refreshing in that the character designs and everything, you could tell are from an older manga. Like, they're just not made and drawn like this anymore. Like, all the dudes are like square-jawed, rough-looking types with like bulbous kind of noses and angry drooping eyes and stuff. Like, everybody just looks a little curmudgeonly in that like early 2000s kind of way, maybe like late 90s. It's hard to describe. Like, you could just look it up and see, but like these shows don't really get made like that anymore. And no one's angular. Yeah. Everyone's kind of doughy. But I'm definitely enjoying it, and I just think it's a niche product on top of a niche sport on top of a niche product. Like, I don't really know if anyone's gonna watch this. And it doesn't help that Amazon, who's hosting it and airing it, have put zero effort at all into advertising it.
I had no idea it was streaming on there, and I'm pretty on top of these things.
Yeah, exactly. And neither did I until you sent me the thing, and I feel like I would have known because I like golf and anime, but even with that, I was like, there's just nothing at all about this.
Is this the series that was so buried that you can only find it by typing in the full name? Or was that a different series? Oh, okay.
No, that was this one.
Oh, so I want to say nice props on the pun you snuck in there at the beginning of your statement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the recognition, but yes, this is the show that I couldn't just type Ton or even TONB. It wouldn't give me it until I typed in the entire title of the show. Which is bizarre, because normally it gets it within a couple letters, especially once you get to TONB. How many other shows have that? But yeah, so I'd recommend people who happen to be in that very small sliver of the Venn diagram that is golf, players, nuts, and anime fans. But if you're not, I don't know if this has a lot of redeeming stuff for you.
It's interesting that the manga only started just under 10 years ago, considering how retro it does kind of look.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's just under 10 years ago, because just from the way the anime looked, I'm like, oh man, this thing looks like it is old.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just the vibe that the mangaka was going for.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it to look that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for me then. I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to cover real quick before we go into recommendations, if anybody has any.
Sure, I can find plenty of recommendations. What else are you watching, Kate? Slime? Is that the only other thing?
Slime's the only thing I'm watching.
Cool.
It's Slime. It was 6 episodes of talking around a table, and then, now we're into the action part of the arc.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's the same usual, like, everybody underestimated this nation of monsters. Now they're all gonna get their asses kicked.
Yeah, it's definitely not the strongest Slime has ever been.
No, but it's it's where that series prints money apparently, so they'll keep going regardless of how interested people are in what's immediately happening in the story.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. It's
Cool.
slime.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I have that much else to say about anything. I mean, I could say a lot about Euphonium, but no one else here has watched any of it, as far as I know. Um, I had a good conversation about some of the recent events with some of those people that I talked to online. Um, so it has a lot of very interesting character moments, as does the Jellyfish Can't Swim in Night series, which I am reviewing, and I really get into that aspect of the character study and social commentary that deals with. A lot of that in Euphonium as well. There are some annoying character traits, but it all serves to generate discussion about real life personality types and social dynamics that are definitely interesting to explore. And the series generally does a very good job of making those realistic and believable. And I'm sure it'll have a very satisfying, cathartic conclusion as well. So, yeah, nice to have that show back. KyoAni is hitting it out of the park as usual in terms of production and everything, direction. Yeah, I think that's probably about it that I have anything decent to say about.
All right, cool. Well, then I guess we can jump into some recommendations here before we call it a night.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. What's been released in the past month and a half? Mob Psycho 103. You can get that on a limited edition Blu-ray. That's a pretty nice set. I got that a while ago, and I enjoyed taking a look at that. Also, you can get the standard edition if you want. Um, let's see, what else do we got? Um, Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village arc, of course. That's coming out in the next couple weeks to get you caught up on the home video releases as the next arc is wrapping up. Um, yeah, and also around the time that comes out, the first Slam Dunk will be released on Blu-ray, which is very exciting. There is a limited edition announced for some time later. I don't think anything more has been released about that other than that there will be one. So if you are like me, hold out for that. But at least the film will be accessible again. So that is very good to hear because that is one of the best sports anime in general. And speaking of Takahiko Inoue, the creator of the manga series as well as Vagabond and Real, he wrote and directed and did the character designs and animation direction for the movie. And he's never worked in filmmaking before, and he fucking nails it. So very cool to see. Other than that, I don't know. I'm sure there's been a lot of other stuff in the past month and a half that would be worth recommending, but I don't know. I can't think of it. Inside Out 2 is good. Check that out.
Nice. I have two. I have one that's a definite recommendation, and one that's kind of more like recommend at your own peril. But the first one that's a definite recommendation is I know Mashal is coming out on disc. I think it did a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
The season 1 complete. So go out and buy that if you want. And Mashal was really fun. Enjoyed it. The gags are always really good, and it's got some decent action in it. Definitely recommend that. And then the one that's recommending your own peril came out in late May, and that is the Belladonna of Sadness 4K from Discotek. The main reason that is they recommend at your own peril is that it's very much an experiential type anime thing that is controversial in that way. Like I remember watching it years ago when it was on streaming, and I got a notification or something that was like, this is the last couple days to watch this like incredible art piece. And it certainly is that in a lot of ways, but there's definitely some weird shit up in there. So I bet it looks great on 4K because it's very much a visual, experience. It is it feels like super like surreal and impressionistic in a lot of ways with how it handles the delicate subject matter that it goes through. So I would recommend it at the very least to watch it. But if you're really into sort of art house anime, I guess you could say, like this or Angel's Egg and shit like that, then go ahead and buy this and give it a shot. It will certainly look incredible on whatever your setup is. And it's always good to support like old anime and stuff anyway, just because it's cool that it is getting the releases, like they are getting the releases that they are. Because I think Angel's Egg even has like a 4K remaster coming.
Yeah, I guess I could have mentioned that in the news. That was a pretty big piece of news in terms of one of the last few remaining "this will never get licensed" things finally got licensed.
Yeah, we came around, we got it, scooped it up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so those are my two there. Kate, anything from you?
I am racking my brain to try to think of anything recently that's anime related or even video game related that I should recommend, but we're at the tail end of not E3 week right now, so there's a million things like being shown off and like 1.5 million awesome looking indie games that aren't out yet. So I have nothing to recommend at this very moment because I'm working through my backlog. I don't know. I saw Furio, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
If that's still in theaters.
Yes.
Yeah, I also agree Furiosa was very good as well.
For sure.
Even if it's technically a flop, but whatever.
Yeah, it's sad.
It beat Garfield, I think.
Fury Road was a flop too, which people don't seem to remember. But that barely that didn't do much. I mean, much better initially. Cult classics, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. Well, then I guess we can wrap it up for the night. So, how about we do the reg and Kestrel? You let everyone know where they can find us and where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We're on Apple Podcasts and all associated podcatchers. We are on YouTube Music, which has replaced Google Podcasts. Prior to recently, you could have imported it from your Google Podcasts or imported an RSS feed. Now you can actually search for it and subscribe to it on the platform itself. Which also means that we're on like multiple YouTube channels if for some reason you want to just stare at the logo for 2 hours. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon Music, Facebook, whatever, music, something, I don't know. Also, you can just find us on fandompost.com. You can just listen to the episodes embedded in there if you want. We're on social media on Facebook and Twitter. Fandom Post Radio on there, and you can get in contact with us through email, fandompоstradio@gmail.com. Anything you want to let us know, we are available. I'm on Twitter, technically, at Full Metal Kioma. I don't really use it, and I pretty much just post links to like stuff that I write that's outside of the normal weekly reviews. I did the Haikyuu movie a few weeks before it came out, and then I saw the Blue Lock movie recently, and I'll probably write something up about that whenever I figure out when the embargo is. And Anime Expo is coming up, and hopefully I will have some cool coverage of that. Still waiting to hear what interview opportunities there might be from that.
Cool, Kate, how about you?
I am on phantompost.com. I am finishing up my review of Dungeon Meshi for this season, and is Slime's still going, right? Is Slime going? Is Slime just gonna keep going? I have no idea.
I'll check. Probably.
I'm reviewing Slime. I am going to try to pick up a high dive show for the summer. We'll see how that goes. And I have reviews of other things up there, like light novels. I just submitted a review for Brynhild the Dragon Slayer light novel, so that should be going up in the next week. You can find me on Blue Sky at Sonic Bug. You can find me on most of the internet and other places, although I'm not in all that many places on the internet at Sonic Bug. Yeah, so track me down on Blue Sky really if you really want to. I'm mostly reposting other people's stuff and the occasional photo of random shit. That's it. That's my presence on the internet.
Yeah, this season of Slime is going to be 24 straight episodes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Slime will be continuing, and I will be continuing Slime.
Excellent. And as always, you can find me right here, and that's basically it. So I think that about wraps it up for this evening for everyone here. So, as always, thanks for listening. Please reach out if you had any questions, comments, concerns, want to talk about anything in particular, or criticize any of our takes on things. I know sometimes it can get a little silly on up in here. So, we will talk to y'all later.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.